Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. I'm very happy that the local scene here in Plymouth allows me to do this show and share with you the activity of recordings in real estate within Plymouth County. For most people, their home is their most valuable asset, and that things we talk about all relate to that. So let's get right to the numbers. So in terms of recording for May, there were 598 deeds recorded in May of 2026, more than the 532 in April. Less, however, than the 665 last May. Your real estate still is in a funky state. We have very high prices. Inventory is very low, and the interest rates are way higher than they were a few years ago. The average sale price for May was $700,009,204 for the county. Plymouth County's a very diverse county, from wealthy communities and larger homes to more working towns. But that number is high for anyone thinking about entering the market. I feel very badly for first-time home buyers. Most likely you'll never own a home soon without outside help, but keep plugging, because there'll be a day when you'll find what you're looking for. Realtors do a great job sharing information. I just don't give up, because I know of people that have tried for months to come up with something, had 3 or 4 offers rejected, and then they purchased their first home. Purchasing a home is a great value to you. It is a wealth builder, and something that works for almost everybody. So mortgages, on the other hand, were up for May. 1,238 mortgages in May of this year. However, less than the 1,298 in April, 1% more than last year, and they're up 11% compared to last year. Although the rates are high, people are still using their property for equity for different projects. We have always followed foreclosures. Since the meltdown in 2008, there was a huge finance boom, 2003, 2004. And then as problems developed, values went down, a lot of people found that they were underwater in their property. We're not seeing a lot of that right now because of the high prices, the high values of property. Usually people that are having difficulty can get out with a short sale. However, deeds across the county have been very low since the COVID moratorium. There are only 5 foreclosure deeds in the whole county of Plymouth, all 27 communities in May, less than the 18 in April, and year-to-date down 29% from last year. One of the documents we file that is important is called a foreclosure notice. It's the first step towards foreclosure. If you get a notice, you really ought to pay attention to what's going on with your property. My suggestion is you reach out to a federal housing council like NeighborWorks and let them work with you and see if they can modify your loan, maybe stretch the term, anything to keep you from losing your home. There were 28 foreclosure notices recorded in Plymouth County in May, less than the 46 in April. Again, it was a document that was frozen during COVID, and lenders don't seem like they've really caught up with it. I'm going to bring up a chart for all the foreclosure deeds and notices for our 27 communities. And you can see on that chart there are a lot of zeros still. So it looks like Brockton is having some trouble. They have 10 notices. Usually it's Brockton, Plymouth, and Wareham in that order, although there's not a lot of activity. 3 orders of notice for Plymouth and 2 foreclosure deeds and 2 foreclosure notices in Wareham. But again, don't be afraid to take action if you're having difficulty. A lost job, a lost part of a job, an illness can really throw you off. And there's nothing better than saving your house compared to having to be foreclosed on. So there's a lot of talk out there in the marketplace about fraud. Certainly it's been more prevalent than it was years ago. There are a lot of people that will try to take advantage of your home. It's a valuable asset. You got to pay attention to it. You got to be very vigilant in your ownership. But there are more, and I'm saying by more, maybe 1 or 2 more, that we've seen across Massachusetts when a person will impersonate you, use a fraudulent notary to claim it's you that signed it away. And there was a story the other day in a different county whereby somebody was home that day and somebody came to their house and said, "What are you doing here? I just bought this house." It turned out to be fraudulent. And it set up a whole series of consequences, including getting the FBI involved and the Attorney General's office about that fraud. And somebody lost a lot of money along the way. Maybe there was a title company involved that covered it, so the loss was to the title company. But you're really got to be alert and, again, vigilant when you own property. However, we offer a free fraud alert. What it does is you put your name and your email address and your address onto this site, and if something gets recorded against that site, meaning your home, you'll get an email and you can take immediate action. So what you would do is go to our website, PlymouthDeeds.org. Again, PlymouthDeeds.org. And on our website, it'll say fraud alert. And if you sign up for that fraud alert, anything recorded on your property, you'll get an email. Now, it might be something that you expect to be recorded, like a discharge of a mortgage or a loan you took out. But other than that, you can look it up, go to one of our offices, call our customer service, and they can look it up for you. And you can find out whether it's something that you need to take action about. Again, you have to be vigilant if you're a property owner. Take advantage of this. And we've had thousands of people sign up for it just to be safe. And we haven't had any fraud come up from those packages. However, it's still a great protection. And the great thing about it, it's free. So we have some great holidays coming up here as we begin the summer month, although not officially summer. Flag Day, the 14th, Juneteenth holiday, the 19th, Father's Day, the 21st. The official start of summer is with the summer solstice on the 21st of June. And our weather's getting better. It was kind of a miserable spring, as we all know, but get a chance to get outside. And as part of our contribution to America's 250th anniversary, we have all celebrated down here the 400th anniversary of Plymouth County several years ago. But it's a good chance to go around and see some of our local history, particularly on sites that you can visit. First one I'm going to talk about is the New Guinea settlement at Parting Ways. It's an important site in Plymouth County's African American heritage. The Parting Ways Cemetery is located on the former location of the New Guinea settlement. In 1792, the town of Plymouth granted the use of 94 acres of land on the Kingston-Plymouth line to 4 black Revolutionary War veterans. The settlement remained occupied by their descendants until 1908. It's believed the 4 soldiers came to the United States from New Guinea, Africa, via Cape Verde. The site is on Route 80 in West Plymouth. You can actually park your car there, look at some of the burial sites, and walk around that site and see homes that were there at one point. It is an interesting site, so much that it's on the National Register of Historic Places, part of our American history. You can also go to Scituate and visit the Scituate Lighthouse. The Scituate Lighthouse is on Cedar Point in Scituate. The United States government opened the lighthouse at Cedar Point in 1811. Simeon Bates was the first lighthouse keeper. One day he left his daughters, Rebecca and Abigail, in charge. And all of a sudden, they saw a British frigate coming in, a big boat, coming into Plymouth Harbor, Scituate Harbor, during what was the War of 1812. So Rebecca and Abigail were smart about it. They gathered the townspeople, started making a lot of noise, like they were a muster of a militia. And the British ship decided not to come into the harbor and went away, and they saved the town from being sacked. It's a great place to visit. It's at the entrance to Scituate Harbor. But that all began the legend of the Army of Two. It is owned currently by the Scituate Historical Society. And some days they say when the mist is coming in and the night gets dark, you can still hear the sounds of the fife and drum along with the crashing of the waves on the jetties. One more place to visit to celebrate Americans' 250th is the home of Daniel Webster in Marshfield. Daniel Webster was born in New Hampshire in 1792, educated and trained in the law. He established a practice in Boston. He delivers an oration to celebrate the 1820 celebration of the Plymouth Colony. He built a house in Marshfield, and a lot of history happened at that house. When he was a Secretary of State for the United States, a treaty was signed there. It's a replica of his house, but it's a sign when you walk around that building and those grounds, what life was like in that time period. And last but not least, we still go back to our celebration for the Plymouth 400, the 400th anniversary of the colony, which was in 2020. We still tell stories from that time, and this was a record back in the 1600s when people traveled by roads but could not pass over the rivers. So there was authorization from the colonial court to build bridges over the South River, the Jones River, and the Eel River. And prior to that, they authorized a jetty to bring, a ferry to bring people over those rivers because you had to go very far around back in those days for those wide rivers, and it's made life more convenient. That will be on display at the registry on the last Friday of the month. I want to thank Lorna Green, Elizabeth White, and Greg White for helping me put this show together. The folks here at the local scene have been great at running this program. Keith Hughes, in particular, have always helped me put the show together. And this information, again, if you own a home, you ought to pay attention to your real estate. There's activities out there that could challenge your ownership. However, I hope you have a great Flag Day on June 14th and a great beginning of the summer. And we'll see you next month.